Today I'm painting a rainy scene. Hi everyone, Steve Elliott here again. Back in Artrage on the iPad. I'm loving that at the minute, so it seems to be my go-to app at this time. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is painting a rainy scene. Now, is it just me, or is there other people out there that loves the rain? I love a rainy day, and if you're one of them people, let me know. Or if you prefer the sun, let me know that as well, because it is interesting amongst artists that they appreciate a wet rainy day. All my friends that aren't artists think I'm crazy when I say, I love it when it rains. I absolutely love it, because the rain on the roofs of the houses change the light. They glisten, and the pavements glisten, and the depth of field changes. Things get misty, colours change, the mood changes. Everything is different. So you get to paint the same scene again, but it's totally different. So I love getting out there with my sketchbook when it's raining and the rain's hitting the sketchbook and just making a mess of it, and I love all that. So when it comes to painting a rainy scene, I really get into it, and I love doing this. And I like this one because I decided that I'm not into painting cars much and vehicles. So I thought, if I do this as a rainy one, I can just put them in as abstract shapes, and I don't have to worry about the detail too much. And the same as the houses. Have you noticed I've just sort of I've used the square brush and just put the odd stroke here and there. The brushes I've used, by the way, I used a roller to get the first colour on. Once I've got the background on with the roller, I then change to oil brushes, and I use 4 oil brushes for the whole of the painting. The first part of the painting, I'm using the normal round and the normal square brush. And I use that for pretty much most of the painting till I've got all of I won't say the detail in, but before I get to the detail. And you can see I use the square brush for the buildings and the small windows, just put in with a stroke. And I'm changing the size of the brush all the time. Obviously the windows is much smaller brush than the actual building itself. And I'm using the round brushes for the sky and sort of the distant pathway or road or whatever you want to call it. And then the palette knife I use is the hard out smudge. And I use that just to sort of get that blurred impression that none of the edges are sharp, because the rain is blurring everything. And then, so I'm still working with those brushes. The other brushes I use are the thick gloss brush and the thick square gloss brush, I think it's called. And that is it. That is, I use them to put in the detail at the end. Those are all the brushes I use throughout the painting. Oh, and I set the canvas to an actual canvas, not paper. So I use one of the sort of default textures for that. So as you can see, I was a bit concerned about the vehicles and things. So once I'd got them in blurred, I was happy with that. Then these people, whenever I wanted to put in any fine detail, I created a new layer. So I created a new layer for the people. But once I wanted to smudge it down, I had to merge the layers down. If I tried to sort of use the palette knife to smudge the paint with like this guy is painted on his own layer, it doesn't smudge properly, because you're sort of trying to smudge from wet paint onto a dry canvas because there's no paint surrounding him. Now, if you merge that layer down so that the actual character is sitting in the same layer as the other, you can get these really cool blends where the white smudges into the grey. Well, you just can't do that if they're on different layers. So you have to merge them down. So it's not me being economical and always trying to work on one layer. It's that it's much easier. Well, it's the only way you can get this really cool effect of the paint being smudged by putting that on the same layer. And then I do the same with the lady character. I paint her on a separate layer. And the reason I do that is I can move them about. I can change the scale. If I'm not quite happy where I've put them, I can shift them around a bit. And then once I'm really chuffed where I've got them, I can then merge them onto that layer and be confident and then smudge them out. I do the same with a lamppost. That's on its own layer. And then you can see there I merged it down. It was a bit quick, I know. And then I smudge it all out to get these nice, soft, blurred edges that I'm aiming for in the whole of the painting. And I thought this post was sort of a bit dominant and sort of cutting the painting off. So I did sort of add a little bit more colour and soften it off a bit and have some lighter areas so it wasn't quite so dominant. And I've kept it, it's almost abstract. I really did enjoy doing this. The old painting took me, I think it was, somebody asked me, I can't remember who it was, so I'm sorry for that, but somebody asked if I would say how long it took to do a painting. And I'll try and remember, but I'll probably forget at times. But this one took it did take me 97 minutes because I totaled up the time on the recordings. So it's fairly fast painting. Here you can see I'm now gone into those thick oil brushes, the gloss brushes, to put the detail on the character. So I kept the thick oil paint to put chiefly on the two people in the foreground, and then the lighthouse and the other distant building, I used the thick oil paint on them as well. And it gave this really nice effect of the painting where you can see that if you zoom in, you could see the canvas sort of shining through the thinner paint, and then these really thick strokes of paint, which I'm really having a lot of fun with at the minute. I didn't use any tubes on this one. This was all done with the brushes, but I still think I got a quite nice thick paint effect. And I didn't put any detail in the faces or, any details in buildings or anything. I wanted it to be almost abstract, certainly impressionist. And this is, although I did it really, really quick, this is the second attempt, by the way. The first one went miserably wrong. And you can see now that I've zoomed in a bit, I'm using the thick paint to put some final detail in on these distant buildings. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. I lost my train of thought because I got excited about seeing the texture of the paint going on there. I can't remember what I was talking about. And I've made the brush really small, and it looks like your paint is scraping through the existing paint. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And the more I use this program, the more confident I am with it and sort of learning to, I thought I knew how to use it, but the more I use it, I think, I don't know if it's confidence or I just feel as though I'm getting much better results with it than I have previously done. And I love these oil paint effects. I'm tempted to buy this, get it printed out on a canvas. I put it on my Redbubble store as a canvas. I think that would be the way to get this one printed out, because it would be nice to see it on a canvas. I don't think it would look as good framed behind glass. I think that's more for the watercolours. So I think I've got some real depth into this painting. I love it. I know. I was saying earlier on, I said this is the second go. The first one went miserably wrong because I didn't have the aspect ratio of the paper correct, and it was getting all distorted. And I abandoned that after about an hour. So this was the second go, and it was a day later when I came back to it and tried it again. And I'm so glad I did, because the quick paintings to me are always I'm always much happier with the quick ones, and the ones that are not rushed but painted with confidence and quickly, I suppose, but sort of every brush stroke goes on confidently. Anyway, that is my rainy day painting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, a big thumbs up as always is much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye.